How hard is it to make a Magic the Gathering set? I'm sure all of you have heard these comments. Standard sucks. How'd they let that happen? What is Wizards doing? Do they even play test this? Well, I got curious myself. How hard is it to make a Magic the Gathering set? Why do they plan so far in advance? Why does each set come out a roughly year to 2 years after its inception? I want to answer these questions in these upcoming months. I want to see how hard it is to make a Magic set, how hard is it to make a fun, interactive set that hopefully doesn't break a standard. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Today I'm going to go over the rough general ideas of the set and give you kind of a ground rules for the set I'm going to create. So I'm going to create everything that it takes to make a set with the exception of the art assets. Alright, I'm not going to be doing the art assets because I can't draw. Can't draw to save my life, can't do any of that. So we're going to forego that, but do everything else. So that means that we're going to do the lore, so I'm going to have stories about it, the world building. The plane is going to be an original plane. I'm going to make the mechanics, the wording, legendary creatures, as well as an overarching story, I think. I might be a little bit light on that because I have an idea for what I want to do. Haven't got to that point. What I have done, though, is I have already created the set. So what I'm going to be doing is making today's video, next week's video. I'm going to try and have these out about once a week. We'll see how that goes based on how much time I have. But we're going to start off by going through a little bit of the color philosophy, color theory, introducing a couple of the cards, and then we'll go into the meat and potatoes of the set, the actual theming, mechanics, and etc. I feel like it's important to get an idea of how I feel about certain colors because ultimately this is going to be my set. Now, with that said, I'm not going to try and make it all complicated, convoluted, broken. I'm trying to keep this in the spirit of Magic as close as I can, or what I see as the spirit of Magic. So these first couple videos are just going to be a introduction to how I see Magic and where I personally would like to take Magic if I was on the Wizards design team. But that being said, I'm not discrediting Wizards. Their job is definitely very difficult, and it is astonishing that they've been able to go on for this long. Like, it just shows how good they are at their job and that they are able to constantly make sets that people will come back to and enjoy and love. Of course, that's hit or miss. It goes up and down, but still, they have tools, they have tricks. Why do I think I can do it? Well, I think I'm a pretty good judge or analyst of games. I try to make my own, none commercially. Most of the time it's just with friends, little things here and there. But I think that I have a lot of creative ideas, and I can kind of give Magic a different look. I can spin it in a way that's entirely unique, entirely my own, without being confined by the same rules that Wizards is. So, without further ado, my name is Sir Lord, and this is going to be my set, The Plane of Parth. So Parth is going to be a political plane. There's 10 factions, similar to Ravnica. Unlike Ravnica, though, these factions aren't vying for control of a single city. So these factions are vying for control of 5 different cities. And they are trying to get access to these cities, 1, to control the plane, but 2, to get access to the Hall of Scepters. What the Hall of Scepters is it is a plane or a building that was constructed thousands of years ago, and it has all the secrets of Parth and of places beyond Parth. And these factions have been going at it for thousands of years, trying to essentially gain control of these cities through these elections in order to rule the entire plane. Now, There has been no specific faction that has been able to acquire even 2 cities. Everyone's been able to get at least 1 because there has to be a controlling party. But 2 has been proven a little too difficult for the factions of Parth. So they have tried various different means to get into the Hall of Scepters. Breaking in doesn't work, sneaking in doesn't work. There is some form of magic seal. The only way that they can get in is to acquire the 5 scepters of the city, which you only get if you have won the city's favor. Okay. The other thing is this is a tricolor set. Every faction is based on any of the tricolor combinations, but it's not going to be exclusive to Wedge and exclusive to allied color combinations. So for instance, in this set, we're going to have some allied colors, some enemy colors, and I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. But there's a couple other things I want to get through first. So the world itself is going to be less scientifically advanced than your typical Ravnica. There's going to be some people who are kind of in a decent stage, like have a bit more technological advancement, and we'll go over that faction today. But for the most part, think of like kind of colonial Americas in like the 1700s roughly. That's kind of the technological advancements that they have at that point. Some are a little bit more advanced than that. Some are much less advanced than that. But that's kind of the idea for technological level. As well as somewhat the aesthetic. It's going to be a little bit more fantasy-esque than just the like Innistrad look, if that makes sense to you guys. I am also going to give a little bit more details on that in the lore videos, so you can get a better idea of what the set's gonna look like, or visual, or imagine, since I'm not gonna be making any of the art assets. Now let's look at the factions themselves. So there's only going to be 5 factions in this set, okay? And they're going to be represented by 5 different color combinations. And we'll start with the red, white, and blue color combination, so Jeskai. And that's going to be the Inspiratus faction. Now, with the Inspiratus, they are mostly concerned with leading through inspiration, right? They're trying to get their whole faction motivated by continuous scientific progress, right? So if they are displaying excellence, then they believe that they will inspire the next generation to be just as excellent. And as they keep going, they will eventually have complete control over Parth. Is that exactly the best way? It hasn't worked in these last couple thousand years, but they are very much a positive faction. They are going to have their own mechanic, but we'll go over that in their individual video. Moving on, we're going to have the Scutall. This is going to be the bug color combination, so black, blue, and green. And they are primarily concerned with ruling through fear. So they are going to rule all of Parth by making people fear them. They are a ruthless faction that might seem a little scarier than they actually are, and that's kind of the whole idea behind them. They are very intimidating. Next, we're going to have the Sai, which is the SAAE, and they are primarily concerned with the eldest. The oldest faction, or oldest member, is their leader. So your worth is determined by how long you've been on this place, or on this plane. The older you are, the more experience you have, and with the more experience comes knowledge. So they have their leader based on age. They have these little time stones that denote when exactly they were born, and these are like their most sacred artifacts. They cannot be destroyed, and they cannot be replicated, and they represent exactly when a person has come into this world, and it's kind of like their badge of hierarchy. Next, we're going to go to the Brutus, and I feel like this is going to be one of the factions that most people likes. This is the black, red, and green color combination, so Jund, and they are primarily concerned with who is the strongest. Their chief is whoever is the strongest character or person in the entire faction, and it is a constant battle for all of them. You can use any means necessary. As long as you are the strongest, you are chief. And they have a couple interesting quirks, but I'll go more into that when we get to them in their video. And our last faction is going to be the Vaishyan Syndicate. And they are going to be the Esper color combination. So white, blue, and black. So they are a interesting faction in the fact that they preach free will, but they lack it. So what I mean by that is they are a democratic system where everyone can vote, but they have lots of systems, a secret council in place to rig every single election to whatever the council desires. So it's the illusion of free will is their kind of ruling mentality. You think you know what you want, but you don't actually know what you want. But we're going to give you the illusion that you do. They're going to be an interesting faction. I'm really excited to show you what their mechanic is. I think it's the best one I made out of the bunch. So, with that being said, I don't want to leave you guys with zero ideas of how I'm going to be designing sets, giving you an idea of what I look for in my Magic the Gathering and what I want to promote, or what I would hope, or what I would do if I was in the design committee. So we're going to start with Mana Rocks. I'm going to have a Mana Rock for each faction, and it's going to be shown across the screen, probably above me. And these Mana Rocks are going to be 2 mana Mana Rocks. I didn't want to have 3 mana Mana Rocks because usually you only really want to play them if they have an awesome additional effect. But I wanted these to be just pure Mana Rocks, no card advantage, anything like that. And I feel like doing that at 3 just isn't something I enjoy. So these ones are going to be kind of like ritual rocks is how I see them, or filtering rocks. So they start by actually producing mana, but then you have to put mana back into them to kind of have them produce mana again. So it's kind of a nice place to sink your excess mana so you can have extra mana on the next turn, but they can also filter your mana for you as well. Might be a little strong, but I think it's a nice spot to have filtering / acceleration. Alright, and you can see them up here. Unlike the traditional factional based Mana Rocks, these ones are all based on whatever are sacred to the faction itself. So as you can see, for instance, the Age Stone I was talking about earlier is there for the Psi color combination, or Psi faction. And then moving on, the last set of cards I'm going to show you is the non-basic lands. So I did want to have tricolored lands, but I wanted to do it a little bit different to how Wizards did their tricycle lands, where I have, there is a basic land type, but there is only one, and you need the other 2 in order to create an untapped land. Because I kind of wanted to make untapped lands, but I wanted there to actually be conditions. So for these ones, we'll go with the Suspicious Fountain. So that one, you require in plains and a swamp. It itself is an island, so it naturally taps for blue, and it taps for black and white, but you require a plains and a swamp for them to come untapped. That way there's a little bit of hoops to go through in order to obtain triple mana. It might be a little too good in Modern, because double fetch lands allows you to essentially get what you need. It might be a little bit more awkward than I'm thinking it is, especially considering it's not going to have every single possible combination of types. but I thought it was a decent start, and I think it's an interesting design. So this is where, at the end of the video, I'm going to ask you guys, what do you guys think? So I have some friends that have been looking over these cards and giving me ideas. For instance, the mana filtering or the once per turn clause on the 2 mana rocks was suggested to me by a friend, and I want you guys to be a part of this. So I want you guys to give me your idea of what you think, what you would like to be added, maybe possible changes if you think it's too strong. We'll probably save the too strong, too weak until we can actually draft it. I'm going to put this on Tabletop Simulator so that anyone who wants to draft it can get a couple of their friends, or maybe find other people's in the comments and then draft it with them to see how exactly it plays. But with now further ado, I'm gonna give you guys an idea of what next week's video is gonna be. So next week we're gonna go over the color combination, or the color black, and kind of get an idea of how I see black and what I want to do with the color in this set. And that's it. So my name's been Sir Lord. I hope you guys like this idea and stick with me for the journey. I know this is going to be video 1, so please forgive any novice video making mistakes. Let me know about that in the comments below, and I'll try to fix any of those for maybe not the next one because it'll be out before I can read them, but the ones afterwards. My name's been Sir Lord, and I hope you guys have a busted day. Have a good one.